Hello there, fellow modelers. Today, we are going to complete our EA-6B Prowler. This includes making the jamming pod, making the cockpit instrument panel, and nicks and knacks. Let's begin. Now, the heart of the EA-6B Prowler, the jamming pods we will look at. Before that, the fuel tank assembly. A little research showed that they were a lot more pointed than was in the kit, so I made minor modification using 80-gram bond paper to sort it out. So that's why the different color, and we'll have to color it to try match the original. Now onto our pods. The pods are like, for me, the invisible claws of the Prowler. It reaches far and wide and jams the heck out of anything that's electronic. So in putting it together, of course, you cut out the basic parts and you cut out the formers. Now each joiner that you see I put there is 80 sheet bond paper, plain old typing sheet as they would say. And then I put it on 3 sides. Now when you see I use the X-Acto knife like this, it is so that I have a basic mark of the center line on the other side so I can place the formers to hold the shape. And of course the trusty ruler to make sure you have a straight edge when it's bent. Never forget our loving tweezer, flat nose tweezer, and then we put in the former to hold the shape and cryolite glue. Then we proceed to make both ends. Now pay careful attention to when you do it, because one side is square that holds the shape, but the tip is a circle. And in this particular case, this is where now you would put the prop that drives the generator for the pod. Now we are creating the prop hub so that it will hold the prop that will spin the generator. Trusty clipper, sand down the edge to make it more rounded like the real deal. Clip the other end, glue in place, and then we apply our blades. And then the attachment points. And then we're good to go to put it onto the pylon on the aircraft. When dried, we can always paint the blades, the prop hub to match the color, and it will look a bit more realistic. And there you have it. Nice. Now let's look at the instrument panel. Now pay attention to not only the parts we're going to cut out, which is the panel itself, but how it's bent and how it's shaped. I find that pre-bending the console on the instrument panel really helps with maintaining the shape. And of course, use a trusty watercolor pencil to paint the edges will surely add realism. And then we join both parts together, and there we have it. This part is for the central instrument console. Fold and then join as you can see here. Now, if there was ever a point, any point that I would stress for you to have patience, it's at a time like this, when inserting, to now join the whole thing together. A little bit of shove, a little bit of push, just gently to nudge it into place. And once I spent about 15-20 minutes doing this, just to make sure it sits properly, I then use cryolite glue to tack it in place. This part here you are seeing is supposed to be the hydraulic actuator that raises and lowers the canopy. And this I put at the base, at the back, clip when ready, and just add the finishing parts. Look at that. Beautiful. Then we snip, 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 and then a little cryolite glue to hold it in place. Of course, the Prowler, I realized that the canopy was tinted, and now we're going on to the windshield assembly, which is pretty much supposed to be straightforward. I tend to dry fit the parts, especially like windshield, to make sure everything looks roughly aligned, and then I use just the tiniest bit of cryolite glue to hold the plastic in place, which is usually like a thin sheet of shrink wrap. And then I hold the former for that canopy in place with cryolite glue. After that, I then paint the edges and then try to put the windshield in place. Again, taking quite a bit of time to make sure it's in place. And the toothpick I use to put dabs of traces of cryolite glue to hold it quickly and firmly in places where I want while the model is being set. After completing that, I then go in with the same color that I spent time to get accurate and pretty much finish a model. First with the paintbrush and then use a cotton swab to brush it into the model, into the area, kill some of the sheen and making the model look a little more worn and realistic. And there you have it. So on to the fuel probe. So with the fuel probe, two things with this particular model. One, it needs to be painted blue to represent accurately the aircraft I'm imitating. And two, the fuel probe design, there's a little bump that's at the back of the fuel probe that should be in the front. So pretty much after I assemble it and put a toothpick in as stiffener, I then cut that bump from the back and transfer it to the front, as you can see here. There you go. And then I put in the front, and yeah, we got ourselves a Prowler. And then we put in the various antennas in the model and around the model, the pitot tube, and there we have it. I am really happy with how this model came out, and I'm glad that you followed me for this journey. So until then, my friends, take care, walk good, relax, and above all, as I love saying, one love.